On the crowded streets of Manila, where jeepneys roar and vendors call out their wares, a young boy named Miguel lived a life most would find unimaginable. At just 11 years old, he had seen more hardship than many do in a lifetime. His father had died from illness 2 years earlier, and his mother worked tirelessly, selling vegetables at a small roadside stall. Money was scarce, food often scarce too, but there was one thing Miguel had that no poverty could take away: his voice. Miguel had been singing since before he could talk. His father used to strum an old guitar, one with missing strings and scratches across its body, while Miguel hummed along as a toddler. The guitar still sat in their home, a relic of better days, and though Miguel's fingers had grown small calluses from trying to play it, it remained his most precious possession. What his mother saw as a distraction from studies, Miguel saw as a lifeline, a way to express the emotions that words could never carry. One evening, as the golden sun dipped into Manila Bay, Miguel wandered into a plaza where a small talent contest was being held. It was a local event, nothing glamorous, but the stage had lights, speakers, and a crowd eager to cheer. Contestants came and went, dancers, comedians, singers, all hoping for a moment of applause. Miguel had not registered to perform. He had only come out of curiosity, guitar slung across his back like a silent friend. But when the host called for a last-minute open mic spot, Miguel felt something stir inside him. His heart pounded, his legs shook, but his father's voice seemed to whisper in his ear, "Music is not about who you are, but what you give." With trembling hands, he walked toward the stage. The crowd murmured, curious about the barefoot boy with tattered shorts and a guitar too big for his frame. The host raised an eyebrow but handed him the microphone anyway. "What will you sing?" the host asked. Miguel swallowed hard. "Hotel California," he whispered. The crowd chuckled softly. A boy of 11, singing a rock classic from the Eagles. It seemed absurd, but then Miguel began to play. The first strum was shaky, but then his fingers found their rhythm, and the haunting intro filled the plaza. His voice, soft at first, soon soared with unexpected depth. It wasn't just the notes he hit, it was the way he sang them, as though he had lived every lyric, as though the song carried the weight of his struggles and dreams. The plaza grew silent, vendors stopped selling, children stopped playing, even passing jeepneys seemed to fade into the background. The song wrapped around the audience like a spell. By the time he reached the chorus, people were wiping tears from their eyes. They weren't just listening to music, they were hearing Miguel's soul laid bare. In that moment, the boy wasn't poor, wasn't fatherless, wasn't invisible. He was a star. As he strummed the final chord, a heavy silence lingered for just a heartbeat. Then, the crowd erupted. Cheers, whistles, claps thundered through the plaza. Strangers rose to their feet, applauding not just a performance, but the courage and raw beauty they had just witnessed. Some shouted, "Encore!" Others simply cried. Miguel, overwhelmed, bowed shyly. But what happened next would change his life forever. Among the crowd was a foreigner, an American businessman named David who had come to the Philippines on a work trip. Tired from meetings, he had wandered into the plaza for fresh air. He had not expected to find himself crying in public, touched by the voice of a boy who reminded him of his own late son, who had also loved music. As the applause continued, David made his way to the stage. He climbed up, knelt beside Miguel, and asked into the microphone, "What is your name, son?" Miguel's voice trembled as he replied, "Miguel, sir." David smiled warmly, though his eyes glistened with tears. "Miguel," he said, "you just gave us more than a performance. You gave us your heart, and the world needs to hear it." The crowd cheered again. Miguel blushed, unsure what to say. But David wasn't finished. He turned to the audience and declared, "I promise this boy's voice will not be lost in the noise of the streets. He deserves a chance." The plaza erupted again, but Miguel's mother, standing at the back, gasped. She hadn't known he would sing. Tears rolled down her face as she watched her son embraced by strangers, honored by a man who didn't even know him. In the days that followed, David tracked down Miguel and his mother. He offered to sponsor Miguel's education, buy him a proper guitar, and record his music. Miguel's mother, though hesitant, agreed when she saw the sincerity in David's eyes. This wasn't charity, it was faith. Miguel began lessons, both in school and in music. For the first time, he ate meals without worry and slept without fear of hunger waking him. But he never lost his humility. He still helped his mother at the stall, still greeted his neighbors with kindness. What changed was his dream. It no longer seemed impossible. Months later, a video of his Hotel California performance, recorded by a bystander, went viral online. Across the world, people were touched by the sight of a boy with bare feet and a broken guitar pouring his soul into a song decades older than him. Comments flooded in. "This gave me chills. I haven't cried in years, but this did it. This boy sings like he carries the weight of the world, yet gives hope." In the United States, TV producers reached out. Invitations came for Miguel to perform abroad. For the first time, he boarded a plane, guitar in hand, eyes wide with wonder. On American soil, under blinding lights and cameras, he sang again. His voice didn't just cross borders, it crossed hearts. Audiences wept, judges stood in ovation, and Miguel's story became one not of poverty, but of resilience, hope, and the extraordinary power of music. Yet Miguel remained the same boy at heart. When offered money and gifts, he used much of it to build a small music school back home, so that other children from the streets could find their voices too. "Music saved me," he said in an interview, "and I want it to save others too." The interviewer asked, "What keeps you so humble, Miguel, after all the fame?" He smiled softly. "Because I know what it feels like to have nothing. And I know now what it feels like to give everything. Music is not mine to keep, it's mine to share." Years later, when Miguel returned to that same plaza in Manila, the place where it all began, thousands gathered. He picked up his now polished guitar, took a deep breath, and sang Hotel California once more. But this time, he didn't sing it alone. Dozens of children from his music school joined in, their voices blending with his. The crowd wept again, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming beauty of what one boy's courage, one stranger's kindness, and one song had created. Miguel's journey was never about fame. It was about proving that even the smallest voice, when given a chance, can echo across the world. And so his story became more than a performance. It became a reminder to all who heard it, that hope can be found in the most unexpected places, that kindness has the power to change lives, and that sometimes, the greatest stars rise not from stages of gold, but from the streets where dreams are born.